The sun rose over Oklahoma City, casting its gentle light upon the bustling streets below. April 19, 1995 was just like any other day for many of its residents, but little did they know that this day would forever alter the course of their lives and the history of the United States. It was a day that began with hope and ordinary routines, but ended in tragedy and devastation. As the morning unfolded, people went about their daily business, unaware of the impending horror that awaited them. Among them was Timothy McVeigh, a man whose name would soon become synonymous with one of the darkest chapters in American history. McVeigh had meticulously planned every detail of his heinous act, driven by a toxic combination of hatred, resentment, and a warped sense of justice. But why did it happen? What compelled individuals to commit one of the deadliest terrorist attacks on American soil? Let's find out. In 1988, Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols first crossed paths at Fort Benning during their U.S. Army basic training. Their chance meeting was further solidified when McVeigh became roommates with Michael Fortier, forming a trio bound by a shared interest in survivalism. As time progressed, their camaraderie took a darker turn as they became increasingly influenced by white supremacist and anti-government propaganda. Their resentment towards federal authorities crystallized after witnessing the events surrounding the 1992 FBI standoff with Randy Weaver at Ruby Ridge, followed by the notorious 51-day siege in 1993 at the Branch Davidian compound in Waco, Texas. McVeigh's personal pilgrimage to the Waco site during both the standoff and its aftermath only served to intensify his disillusionment with the government's actions. It was during these tumultuous times that McVeigh resolved to take drastic action, seeing the bombing of a federal building as a direct response to what he perceived as governmental overreach, particularly regarding the Second Amendment. In his eyes, federal agents had transformed into soldiers, making federal buildings not just symbols of authority, but actual command centers. This conviction laid the groundwork for the tragic events that would unfold, forever altering the course of history. Timothy McVeigh, initially considering assassinations, later decided on a bombing campaign to amplify his message. He targeted federal buildings, choosing sites with two or more of the following agencies: ATF, FBI, and DEA, viewing the presence of additional agencies as a bonus. After ruling out targets in several states, he settled on the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. The Murrah Building, with its glass front and adjacent open parking lot, was deemed ideal for McVeigh's purposes. He believed the glass facade would shatter and the open space would offer better photo opportunities for propaganda. Additionally, McVeigh scheduled the attack for April 19, 1995, aligning with the second anniversary of the Waco siege and the 220th anniversary of the battles of Lexington and Concord. Rumors also circulated about connections to the planned execution of white supremacist Richard Snell, who had foretold a bombing on the day of his execution. While Snell's execution was not confirmed as a motive, he had expressed a desire to retaliate against the government. The Oklahoma City bombing was not merely an act of violence. It was a deliberate and calculated act of terrorism aimed at the heart of the American government. McVeigh's target was the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, a symbol of federal authority and power. On that fateful morning, at 9:02 a.m., McVeigh's truck bomb detonated with devastating force, ripping through the building and shattering the lives of hundreds of innocent people. The casualties of the Oklahoma City bombing encompassed a wide spectrum of individuals, ranging from infants to the elderly, and included government employees, law enforcement officers, military personnel, and civilians. The devastating impact of the attack was felt most profoundly by the families and loved ones of the victims, many of whom were left grappling with unimaginable loss and grief. Among the casualties were 168 confirmed fatalities, with victims ranging in age from 3 months to 73 years. The toll included 19 children, tragically cut down in the prime of their lives, their futures extinguished in an instant of senseless violence. The loss of innocent young lives, including 3 pregnant women and 15 children who were in the America's Kids Daycare Center, housed within the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, struck a chord of profound sorrow and outrage across the nation. As the days turned into weeks, the true extent of the tragedy became clear. The death toll continued to rise, and the city was left reeling from the loss of so many innocent lives. But amidst the sorrow, there were moments of resilience and strength that served as a beacon of hope for the future. One such moment came when President Bill Clinton visited Oklahoma City to offer his condolences to the victims and their families. Standing amidst the rubble of the Murrah Building, he delivered a stirring speech that captured the nation's grief and resolve. He vowed that those responsible for the bombing would be brought to justice and that the people of Oklahoma City would emerge stronger than ever before. But the road to justice would be long and fraught with challenges. The investigation into the bombing was one of the largest in American history, spanning years and involving thousands of law enforcement officers and investigators. The perpetrators, Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols, were eventually apprehended and brought to trial, but not before inflicting further pain and suffering on their victims and their families. The trial of McVeigh and Nichols was a testament to the resilience of the American justice system. Despite the overwhelming evidence against them, both men were afforded a fair trial and the opportunity to present their case in court. In the end, they were found guilty of their crimes and sentenced to life in prison. But even as justice was served, the scars left by the bombing would never fully heal. For the survivors and the families of the victims, the pain and trauma would linger for years to come. They would never forget the loved ones they had lost or the horrors they had witnessed on that fateful day. Timothy McVeigh was stopped by police shortly after the Oklahoma City bombing because he was driving without a license plate. The police arrested him for having a concealed weapon. During his arrest, they found a business card in his possession with incriminating evidence written on it, which was later used in his trial. The investigation into the bombing led to McVeigh's swift arrest and subsequent trial. McVeigh's trial, which began on April 24, 1997, featured extensive testimony from witnesses, including Michael Fortier and his wife Lori, who confirmed McVeigh's hatred of the government and his plans to bomb the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. McVeigh was found guilty on 11 counts of murder and conspiracy and was sentenced to death. On June 11, 2001, he was executed by lethal injection at the Federal Correctional Complex in Terre Haute, Indiana. Terry Nichols, another conspirator, was tried twice. First, by the federal government in 1997, where he was found guilty and sentenced to life without parole. Later, the state of Oklahoma sought the death penalty against Nichols on 161 counts of first-degree murder. Although he was found guilty on all charges, the jury was deadlocked on sentencing. He was subsequently sentenced to 161 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. Michael and Lori Fortier, accomplices in the planning of the bombing, were also sentenced. Michael received a 12-year prison sentence and a fine for failing to inform authorities about the attack, while Lori received immunity for her cooperation. Throughout the trials, there were suggestions of involvement by others, but no credible evidence emerged. McVeigh, in a letter released on the morning of his execution, denied the existence of any additional conspirators, claiming sole responsibility for the bombing. In the years that followed, Oklahoma City would undergo a remarkable transformation. The city rose from the ashes of destruction, stronger and more united than ever before. The site of the Murrah Building was transformed into a memorial to the victims, a place of remembrance and reflection for future generations. The immediate aftermath of the bombing saw a remarkable display of courage, resilience, and solidarity as emergency responders and ordinary citizens rushed to aid the victims trapped in the rubble of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. Despite the chaos and devastation, first responders worked tirelessly to rescue survivors and treat the injured, demonstrating the best of humanity in the face of unspeakable tragedy. Their heroic efforts saved countless lives and provided a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. The Oklahoma City bombing not only inflicted a profound psychological toll on children who lost parents or family members, but also left a lasting imprint on the nation's response to terrorism. The devastation's impact extended far beyond those directly affected, reverberating through media images and stories, leaving many traumatized and in need of mental health support. Research conducted post-bombing revealed widespread symptoms of PTSD among children, emphasizing the urgent need for counseling services. The courage and compassion displayed by Oklahomans in the aftermath showcased the strength of human spirit amidst adversity, prompting a broader societal response to address the unique needs of young survivors. Amidst the chaos, ordinary citizens and first responders alike demonstrated remarkable acts of heroism, rallying together to aid those in need. The bombing sparked a national conversation about domestic terrorism, prompting a reevaluation of security measures and law enforcement strategies. As the nation mourned and memorialized the victims, the Oklahoma City bombing underscored the fragility of life and the necessity of remaining vigilant against extremism. Through remembrance and reflection, we honor the victims and reaffirm our commitment to a more peaceful and inclusive future. If you found this information insightful, please consider sharing it with others to raise awareness of the Oklahoma City bombing's impact on children and communities affected by terrorism. Subscribe for more content on similar topics, fostering empathy and understanding. Together, we honor victims and survivors, building a more compassionate society. Thank you for your support. Like, share, and subscribe to join us in this mission.